dead?
They actually were given the wrong group by the
We can't get on the phone with anybody, but just grab it in the next 10, 15 minutes.
So that fourth meeting's looking like it's gonna, that fourth meeting looks like it's gonna,
We're on.
Is that me? It picked that up.
They were working an hour ago. Yeah, we're up and running. Okay. Just gonna have to step back from the mic.
welcome to third workshop, budget for Hollywood Park, August 16th. Please excuse our delay. We're having technical difficulties with the volume. So, Mr. Fred Timmons, you're up.
All right. First, yes, but it's still.
There it is. Kelly, you got it?
Would it help if we just press the button when we talk versus keep it normal then?
Probably. I'm going to talk loud anyway, so.
Without the microphone. You had it on a second ago. Recording the voice, right?
Yeah, but it's really hard to hear.
Okay, I've got it. Yeah, it is. I've got it streaming, even though we can't see it in here, it is streaming, so I'm looking at it on the computer. Okay.
Says no signal.
It's a microphone up there.
There, you got it? Get away.
Okay, we're back online. Seriously, we're having some serious technical difficulties. Kelly's trying to repair. And we'll go back to Mr. Fred Timmons. All yours.
Okay, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was the fire department financing. We got information from Plains Capital Bank and the finance company affiliated with the fire truck manufacturing. The government capital, which is the finance from the manufacturer, would do it for 1.94% over 5 years. And I presented you with an amortization schedule. It's roughly about $70,000 of interest over a 5-year period on $1 million loan. Plains would do it for 2% over the CD rate, and we would have to put up $1 million CD. So we would probably take the money out of text pool, set up a CD if we did that, but we would still be paying 3% interest, and we're already earning interest on that money in text pool. I don't know what rate at text pool, but I just wanted to give you, I did speak with the salesman. He said that costs are going up constantly. He advised that we highly consider beginning the fire truck construction before 22 because there's an automatic 3% increase in the cost of the construction of the vehicle. So I think we need to seriously consider this because of the need.
Since we're in pretty good fiscal shape, have you considered just buying it outright and saving the interest?
I would rather pay off the current bond issue. I still haven't received a call back. I'll call her in the morning. But that would save us $1 million of interest and then this would be, the finance amount that we're paying on the bond right now, I wrote it down, it's like $205,000 a year. This would be $250,000 a year. So if we paid off the bond, that would free up $205,000 a year. This would be $250,000 a year. So it gives us some things to think about, but we might want to consider a line item in the budget for new fire truck. So be thinking about that. Second thing that I wanted to bring up is I spoke to Jeanette today about the three women that work in the admin offices. And I apologize I didn't make you a copy of this. Michelle has been with the town for just over a year. She has organized the permit section so that any one of us can step in and help when necessary. She has cross-trained Francis, which has helped keep the permits section functional during her absence. Michelle has a good working relationship with residents, contractors, and inspectors. Court clerk Vicky has been with the town for under 6 months. She's level 2 certified court clerk. In her short time, she has completely revamped the municipal court office and operation. We had a tremendous backlog in our court cases. She discovered that the reporting hadn't been processed for years. There was old cases left in limbo. Case status updates hadn't been completed. So in her short time, she has brought it all up to date. A month ago, she showed that the case backlog from as far back as 2017 was down to just 22 cases from hundreds before. Her efforts and persistence to update court records speaks volumes to the caliber of her work ethic. Frances has worked in the admin department for under 6 months. She works with all the administration to help when and where needed. She's also a level 2 certified court clerk. She's the backup during municipal court. I saw her in action today. She's filled in for the permit clerk and has become well-versed with the permitting process. It's all about that cross-training of the offices. So Jeanette is asking for a 5% merit increase for the 3 women in addition to the 3% COLA. So I just wanted to give you what she thought of these 3 ladies and what they've meant as a change to the admin department of the city.
I agree with Jeanette. I know what Francis brought to the table, and I had worked with them earlier in the year. I was very surprised to see the mess that court clerk's desk was in when she took it over. And if she's gotten it down since 2017 down to 22 cases, that's awesome.
That's tremendous.
Francis has a lot of stuff where she can help you. She knows income. She's done payroll before. She can fill in a whole lot of places over there.
Yeah, she does. She does. Vicky's making about 37. Frances is making about 37. Michelle's making 35. And so it would increase Vicky and Frances to about 39 and Michelle up to 37.
Well, I think for the first time in a long time, we actually have a functional admin department.
Yeah, and they worked good together. Frances is great. When the people come up, she goes, "Hi, how you doing? How can I help you?" Always real positive with the people. I'm sorry, Michelle, when they come up for permits.
Well, I'm okay giving him a merit increase as well.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay.
All in agreement?
All right, outstanding. All right, then I'm going to have you turn to page 16 behind the blue tab.
Oh, I left my paper.
This is the Parks and Recreation. I think, Kelly, if you will look at your figures to make sure that.
Just,
Go ahead.
So in the parks, I really didn't, I was kind of trying to phase this out.
Okay,
So there's not a whole lot in the park budget.
right. I think I'd shown 500 in supplies.
Yeah, I'm hoping you can, I mean, that's, with that porta potty down there, some minor stuff like that. But, and that's at Triangle Park.
Okay.
So I'm hoping throughout this year, me and you can work together and get this budget phased out and then incorporate everything into public works or something like that.
Okay.
To streamline things a little bit better.
So basically, supplies, we were showing 500. Year-to-date actual was 815.
All right, so I've got, 500 in supply, and then we have utilities down there, which are some water, and electric.
Right, he had budgeted 1,000 for water, 440 for electric, and,
Got 1,000 for repair budget, basically.
Right.
Sprinkler system, playground equipment, whatever. goes down.
right, total budget of 2,940.
Total contracts and services?
Contracts and services would be 1,000 under repair, 40 under electric, and 1,000 under water.
What did you put as the total, please?
The total 2,940.
Behind your blue divider, all the way to the back.
2,940 for supplies or contracts?
No, 1,000 for water, 440 for electric, and then skip down to repairs, 552.341 to 1,000.
But aren't we already having this year to date, the electric gas is 2,966, so how come we're projecting 440?
Because I think we're going to be, that's going to be charged under, because he's phasing this out.
Yeah, we're trying to phase the parks out and trying to incorporate it into, we've got all these different budgets, and it's just getting complicated, you know?
So that will be elsewhere.
Excuse me?
What we've already spent to date, that would be somewhere else in another, on another page.
Not yet, but it will be, hopefully we can get this finished, phased out this year, and then we can move it all over to another page.
We'll be moving it this year. But I see I understand your question. So is that okay with everybody?
What's the water cannon? The water cannon.
We're
Oh, under 228.
228. Oh,
Current budget's 4,000, but you didn't use
I
it.
have no idea.
Well, I remember somebody, a resident asked for us to buy it, and we voted against it. I think it was Mr. Brown.
I have no idea unless that is the cooling idea that Mr. Bradley brought up, that we talked about.
Maybe that was it.
That's the only thing I can think
Well, I
of.
mean, I don't know why it's on here if we don't have it.
well, there's a lot of things that are on here that need to be changed. Yes, sir.
Where is this for? If we're going to phase this out, where is it at?
Excuse me?
Oh, these expenses.
Because, for instance, you look at the 12,141 of pool management, it's expenditures to date. So, like the pool management, I think will go under contract services, which are contractual services, that'll be on the next page.
But we've spent more than that. It's just showing up somewhere else because We've spent more than that on pool management because.
Well, the pool management's all gotten paid in July and August for the summer months. So it's not showing to date here.
Okay.
But I think we're gonna have to have a line item under contractual services for pool management.
And I think we should, yeah. So does that go up this year, the pool management? Is there an incremental increase, or are we,
I think it was a slight increase, but I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was like 62,000 for the summer, and then I think it's 12,000 winter. It's $74,000 contract in all.
We don't have that anywhere else other than right here.
Right, because the summer months were paid in July and August.
Okay, so are we gonna budget for it here or no?
We're gonna budget under contractual services.
okay.
Okay,
that's
so we're not
gonna-
gonna budget it here.
So now the 12,000 that's for the winter months, Kelly, does that go up when we rent the pool to Galvan? Did the
Yes.
price go up, so it won't be 12?
Part of our winter services price did go up slightly when the pool is used more because it requires more service.
So is that part of the 12, or will the 12?
That's part of the 12.
Okay.
I do have a question since it's come up. Is there a contract?
Does their contract include chemicals, or we have to buy chemicals?
Chemicals are part of the contract.
So they're buying chemicals?
Yes.
Okay, just curious.
That's all, their contract is all inclusive. They actually have chemical pumps that automatically monitor the pool and put the chemicals in throughout the day.
Okay,
The real cost of that is all included in their contract price.
And includes lifeguards. Okay. So, nothing else on the Parks and Recreation. We'll go to the next page, which is contract services. So we have personnel, and this is the dear manager salary. I left it at 12,000. Okay. There'll be, if this is an actual salary, there would need to be a 3% increase, the COLA. Is this contract?
We don't need to raise that.
Okay. All right, so then the applicable FICA and payroll taxes is 942.
For him? I thought it was a contract, he just got it.
Well, if we're showing FICA expenses,
I'm sorry?
we're showing FICA,
Yes, he's an employee.
he's an employee, but we're not gonna do the 3% COLA.
It's a different situation.
Okay.
You want to jump in?
Okay, contractual services, streetlights. We've spent 10.7 so far. Last year, we budgeted 16.8. I was thinking like around 15,000. Kelly, you need to help me on this. On streetlights, we've spent 10.7, we spent about 11,000 so far this year. I budgeted 15 for the year.
You know, we're not putting it, we haven't brought any new streetlights on, so I would say probably when you projected it out to, it's probably gonna be what it's at.
Okay, all right. 15,000, yes, ma'am. Tiger Sanitation, I looked up that contract per the audit report, and it said for the next fiscal year, it was gonna be $385,199.
Do you remember any idea how long that contract was for?
Pardon me?
Yeah,
I didn't go to the contract, I went to the audit report.
Okay. I believe, Debbie, we still probably have another year with Tiger? Tiger, correct.
Right. Come November, we got a year, I think November, contract started.
For the same price? Wasn't it a 5-year?
It's 5-year.
It was a 5-year contract,
Mhm.
At the same
so
price?
coming up November, we have 1 year left.
But it was at the same price, because that's not what the audit report said.
There should have been an increase.
You said there should not be?
Should have been.
So it's not the same price?
How long is the term of that contract? How long is the term? 5 years? What year are we in?
We've got 3
We're
years,
gonna start
6
up
months, or 9 months in right now.
How much?
3 years and 8 or 9 months in. November will be 1 year left.
Okay.
Next year, I'll be working on RFP and put out, so y'all get the sanitation for y'all.
Do you want me to check on this and look at the contract and see if it's possibly different than what the audit report showed? Okay, I'll do that.
Fred,
Yes.
on the Tiger thing, where you have 357 for 18, 19, and 20, and then the current, and then why is the projected year end lower?
That projected year end, I don't agree with that column. That's something that the computer, and we'd talked about, don't rely on that.
But it does bring up another point in that there wasn't any annual increase in the prior 3 years on actual, and now we're budgeting in an increase.
Okay, I'll
So
check
there's
that.
something not right about that.
Okay, I'll check that.
What numbers were you speaking about?
The Tiger Sanitation. All right, I'll check that. Nothing on branding. Municipal court judge, we've spent $7,250 to date. We'd budgeted $8,700, but the $7,250, if you equate that, if that's for 9 months, for the whole year, it would be $10,000. So I was thinking 10,000.
Well, is he going to still be processing a backlog on all those? So he's going to have a really full docket this coming year, assuming we get back to normal.
There was a full docket today.
Okay.
How many people showed up?
It was full in here.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Municipal prosecutor, we've spent $92.50 today. That equates out to $12.4. The auditor, they have done this for 16,500. Last year was 16,500. For the coming year, I believe it's 16,500 also. And just to let you know, I know this audit firm. I've known them for 20 years. I asked them how much time they had on this audit over and above what they charged, and it was about $7,000. They took a $7,000 discount. So when you're thinking about, gosh, this seems high, it's a reasonable figure. Bexar County tax collector, I don't know why there's nothing charged here. This was budgeted at $2,800. I think there's a fee that we're paying, so I budgeted this for $3,000.
What's that fee for?
It has to do with the tax collections. And we pay it, they collect the taxes and send us the checks.
It's like an admin fee for
Uh-huh.
processing.
Right. Dear attorney,
we don't have that anymore, right, Debbie? Didn't we get rid of
We
the
do not have him on a monthly basis. I would budget just a little tiny bit for that.
500. We spent $398 to date.
Let's say 400,
Okay.
just for emergency.
Sure. City attorney, we've spent $47,457. That I came up with 75,000. We budgeted 112.
Is he paid out?
We sent there's a check in there for him.
I just got 2 invoices today.
Oh, lucky you. So I budgeted 75,000. Special attorney, we've spent 12,400 to date. That equates out to 15,000.
What's a special attorney?
That's when Phil filed a lawsuit, isn't it, against us?
It's when our current city attorney, doesn't feel comfortable processing something, and they'll go ahead and get a special attorney for a particular case. Lawsuits, employee lawsuits, outside litigation, and that's kind of like a retainer.
Okay, somebody connected to that our city attorney chooses?
Yes, ma'am. We still get to choose those. Council gets to choose. It's not just an automatic.
So we're not spending that money until we decide we have a need for it, right? We're not just paying someone annually on retainer, okay.
So it's not, it'll come over time.
Engineering fees. This has to do with the street construction. I don't know if I don't know if we have any big street construction for the coming year.
Currently, we do not. Glenna's going to take over that next year.
Maybe this year, you don't know.
The last street project took way longer than it ever should have. And because of pandemic, contractors, all sorts of obstacles that were put in front of us. As Kelly knows, and a lot of the residents emailed me, they're not happy. There's a lot of things that we just couldn't control. The contractor we had didn't have help. He couldn't get a crew together. So I think, like I said, Glenna's going to try to help us on that and figure out where we are. We do have a master plan, and maybe next year we can kind of address that master plan and regroup once we figure out what we're doing with the fire truck. And we can kind of get priorities, what's the most important thing, because we do have some areas that still need some work. But that last, and this isn't Murphy's fault, Kelly's fault, it was just pandemic. Issues one after the other.
What do you think we ought to budget for engineering fees?
What do you have projected at?
Well, we spent 54,000 to date, but we had a big contract going.
Well, if you look at the years prior,
Yeah, it's been heavy every year.
it was 64, and then it went up pretty substantial for 2018, 2019. I think that's when we started the bidding process on this street project.
I'd set it at 75,000.
And I think the 75 is probably a good place to start.
Isn't that contract satisfied now? It's a 3 or 4 year run.
There's some retainage, there's 70,000 left on the contract. Right, but I'm not holding the 70, they just haven't done the work. But this would be, we are holding the retainage.
So is this in anticipation of setting out on a new contract and new opportunity to fix streets? Is that what the 75 set aside?
Right.
Okay.
But we have other engineering fees as well.
Right.
And even in a year when we are not doing streets,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have engineering fees.
Definitely, anytime we have street cuts, if salt comes in, CPS comes in, does anything in the street damage, anything like that, the engineers come in.
Okay,
It's not
Alright.
just for,
That's kind of what I was trying to get to.
okay.
But
So we've got,
Stars pay it?
no,
Stars generally pay, when we pay them?
no. That was just on a special deal on this,
the gas lines.
yeah. So I've got 75,000.
And we bring our engineers in because if we don't solve them, do their, salt cuts, they won't backfill them properly and back them right, and you wind up with big ditches in the road.
Yeah, we want to avoid that. So deer management coordinator, nothing on that line.
You know what, that line item can come out, there's no such thing. That's the deer manager.
Okay, I'll take care of that. Deer management supplies, we've spent 5,000 to date. I budgeted that for 7,000.
But we can leave it at 6,500, that's pretty much the standard
Okay.
that we do every year.
All right.
Debbie, is that used only when we transport? Because like the, 2020, this was the 7th, so did we transport in 18 and 19? Because I know we did this year, right?
The 57, I don't think is correct, because we've never had a year where, that's not correct. And they do spend some things, on years that we don't move
So Bayer Appraisal District, we've spent 9,667 to date. I budgeted that 14,000.
That's paying for their appraisers, right?
That's paying for that service that they provide.
Non-appraised property.
Right.
All right, so they're
Well,
$2,000.
all of the properties are appraised. And they handle all of the, people that are saying, my property's not worth that, but if I want to sell it tomorrow, I want to sell it for more than that.
Yeah.
So, building inspector, we've spent 30,000 to date. That equates to 45,000, which that was what was budgeted. So I would keep it at 45,000. Septic inspector, we've spent 1,900 to date. I'd keep that budgeted at 3,000. Health inspector, we've spent 5,500 to date. I budgeted that for 7,000. Skip down a couple to mayor council. We spent 2,243 to date. I budgeted that for 3,000.
You know what, I don't think this needs to be in here. We have that mayor council budget in the other part of the budget.
Okay.
So I don't think we need it twice. I would propose to take that out of here completely.
Okay.
What was the 2243 on the other part?
I don't know why it's here instead of on the other page. We've already got 5,000 budgeted for each line.
For each line.
Right.
So are y'all okay deleting those?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take them out of here.
Okay. All right. And then the only other thing, it's not on a line item anywhere, but we need the pool contract.
Okay, so we
And,
have a
and that was 74,000 annual contract. Should we, Kelly, should I look at what the coming year contract is gonna be? If it's, if it's more than 74, I hate to budget.
I think we need to, we need to look at it. I don't remember if there was a increase per year or.
Okay. Our current contract is 74. Let me look and see what the contract is gonna be for the coming year. And when we get back together with all the final budget information, I'll have that for you then.
Can you clarify, what contract are we talking about?
We're talking about Aquatica. That's the, no problem.
No, it doesn't. So, I don't know if we want to do this now or we want to wait until we have a council meeting. You can tell me, Mayor. I have looked into adding a gate attendant to solve some of the issues down at the pool that the lifeguards are having, to help the police department. And that was going to be roughly $17,000 more for the season if they would do the same hours. Do we want to add that now, or we want to wait and talk about it at council and then add it at that
I
time?
think we'll wait till the council,
Okay.
because I don't know who's gonna be manning that. Who's
You're right,
in
exactly.
charge of that? Is it
And
Aquatica?
that's why I never got brought it up, because we haven't talked about.
Yeah, I think council needs to
If
make that
that's what we
decision.
want to do. Maybe we talk about it a little bit.
Okay, so keep that in mind, that'll be another budget item that may need to be added.
What are you calling that, Kelly? Gatekeeper?
Gate attendant?
Yeah, gate attendant.
Chief, what are your thoughts on that?
I liked it when Aquatica came and gave their presentation to Kelly and I thought it was a great idea. It's not as simple as just sitting at the gate. There's a lot of other duties that they will accomplish. That person's not a lifeguard, so they handle everything else that lifeguards have been trying to handle. That person handles all of that.
Who would they fall under?
Aquatica,
Okay, so
They
so
hire-
they're gonna be
they-
adding this budget for
for us,
Aquatica.
and it makes it easy for us. Yeah.
So we would just basically be budgeting one employee for
For the number of hours.
while they're there, yeah.
And instead of us handling an employee, it's one of their employees, and they handle everything, and they just come to work for us. and they handle-
But they're doing that now, aren't
It's
they?
like
Don't hold me to
15.
this, but I don't have the number sitting in front of me,
Not a gate.
but it was like 17
Lifeguards
or
are doing it.
$18 an hour.
All right, but they've got somebody slotted for
staff are not only responsible for sitting there, they're also responsible for trash cans and bathrooms, and that's a break time when they're not on the stand, and, you know. if
They're not
that's
sitting
someone
at-
that's trained as a gate attendant, then they know, okay, these are the rules. Hey, you can't be vaping, or, you know, whatever y'all decide is allowed in the pool area. Hey, no more, you can't take that glass in there, it's got to stay outside, or whatever. This gate attendant will be more attentive to that, and also be able to respond to the police, because they'll have, that will be their main.
That's our conduit, basically, with the pools, what we were thinking.
Yeah, we can discuss all that part of it at a council meeting, because that's really not what we're looking at
It'll just be an additional
Yes, sir.
budget line item.
from aquatic.
So we might want to show another 17 on Aquatica. Okay, that completes the book. I sent out to y'all or gave you copies of items. Yes, sir?
Do you want to do the board civic?
Well,
Because I have a few line items in there that we use.
right. I'll get to that. I want to do EDC first.
Okay, you want to give me a step on your?
No, it's not a problem at all. No problem. The first thing I want to do is EDC. There was a separate little packet on EDC. You
Is
didn't?
that what you gave us, the last time? we did?
Right,
Got it.
Oh, I thought you had that. You did it.
right. So EDC gets 12.5% of the sales tax. And so we had budgeted in general fund 685,000. That's half of the total sales tax. So when you gross that up and then take 12.5%, we're budgeting 171,250 for revenue for EDC.
Is that on here somewhere?
No,
Okay.
Okay, so give me the figure again, 171?
171,250.
That's total revenue?
Yes.
Didn't you have this somewhere, like in a, bird's eye view, EDC percentage? I felt like I saw that somewhere.
Yes. In the book that Daisy did those schedules,
Behind the yellow?
right behind the yellow, and the second page is analysis of your sales tax, and it shows that general fund gets 50%, venue fund gets 25%, street fund gets 12.5%, and EDC gets 12.5%. So we had budgeted 685 in general fund, that's half. So when you gross it up, 12.5% is 171,250. Prior finance directors did not have it equal based on the percentage that they receive. These revenues will be budgeted at the percentage that they're going to receive.
Well, that just makes so much sense.
Yeah. On the second page of the EDC, they had budgeted a $3,600 admin fee. There was nothing paid towards that, but the city secretary sits in on the EDC meetings, which is extra time for them, so the EDC feels like they should cover that cost for the city secretary to be in their meeting, so I budgeted that at 5,000.
Well, you'll be there also.
Yeah, but mine's not extra time. I'm on
He didn't read the
a
plan.
menial contract with y'all. On supplies, the supplies that are here were items that they paid, I believe, for the fire department. I think that they need to concentrate on brochures, stuff promoting the city, and so I budgeted 10,000 for supplies. They have, under admin, they have,
I'm sorry, Fred, excuse me.
no problem.
I'm looking under supplies, 223.
Yes,
Miscellaneous.
yes.
Where are we putting that 10,000?
On that line, 10,000, right.
In place of instead of the current period? I mean, if we're looking at actual date,
Yeah, what they spent last year supplies was, I believe, for the fire department.
oh, I see. So you're significantly decreasing it therefore.
Right, I think it should be supplies based on promoting the city, brochures, advertising, such as, yeah, commercial businesses. So I budgeted 10,000. Under admin supplies, there was a event budgeted for 10,000. They never did do anything, but I think if the EDC wants to do an event to promote the city, I would leave the 10,000 as a budget again. Computer services, 10,000 was budgeted. I left 10,000 there. The capital outlay was auto, I believe, for police, and a VoIP sound system update. I'm not budgeting anything under capital outlay. Next page, under contractual services, legal and professional fees, I budgeted 25,000. They've spent 16,000 to date. It would equate to probably 22. I put 25.
I'm sorry, Fred, where?
On the third page, Tom, it says page 4. It's under contractual services.
439.
Yeah, 590, 439.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Line item for strategic marketing, it was budgeted 10,000. I think we should be doing a lot more of that. I budgeted 25.
That's on top of and different from the 10?
Yes.
What's the difference between strategic marketing?
I don't know. It's the EDC is supposed to bring in businesses to the city. So, line item for local business outreach, they had budgeted 10, they spent 14. I budgeted 25. 25,000. So the total that I've budgeted is expenditures totaling 110,000 and income of 171,000.
Will you go back to the local business outreach?
Yes, ma'am.
So annual budget 10,000, the year-to-date is 1,400, not 14,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you still are doing 25?
That's what I am recommending, because that's where the money needs to be spent.
There was a lack of activity in that account.
Okay.
It's going to change.
Probably a lack of activity because of the pandemic. So for the EDC, I'm budgeting 171,000 of income and 250, and total expenditures of 110,000. So I'm budgeting a excess revenue of 61,250.
Fred, a question?
Yes, sir.
On legal and professional fees,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned that you're going to bump that to 25,
I did.
and did I miss you saying that?
No, I said that.
Yeah, I got it.
Sorry.
I got it.
That's okay. No problem.
And then obviously the leftover excess, that's what the EDC does, they figure out where they need to use it.
Excuse me. Hey, Tom, you have anything else to say about EDC? Would you like to say anything
Did you want
else
to say
about
anything?
EDC?
Did you want to say anything?
Input?
Well, all right, one question. Should, and hopefully, we've talked for years about this, I'll talk about it. We've talked for years about the septic system at the Triangle Park. If EDC and the city divide that cost some way, where is that money going to come from out of the city's portion? Is that capital expenditures or?
That would be capital expenditures. Are we still doing that?
There may be funds available from another source to pay for that,
Okay,
outside of our city budget,
okay,
from outside funds.
all right.
Is that cryptic enough?
Yeah, it was.
Well,
There's some funds that may be available that aren't available as of yet, so we're not spending anything. There's some,
Sorry, I could not understand.
There's some, here.
Okay. Okay.
It's under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Oh, okay, okay.
So,
Okay.
Fred, I do have a question.
Yes.
I don't think all of our projects were finished. Like, what are the cameras like on the street? Are they done? There's one,
One left to do, yes, ma'am. Yeah,
are
they're
the
just,
others up and running?
yes. I don't know about the paperwork part.
So that's what my question is. I think we still owe, we've got cameras on all the entrances.
Okay.
We still owe some money.
So money came from ADC to pay for cameras?
We pay for all of it.
$100,000 for that.
Yeah, I know we paid 30 for sure. I
What's-
know that, I saw that invoice. I don't
Who's the
know.
vendor? Who's the vendor?
Matt Link Security,
Okay.
and then there was a CPS invoice. I think that's
But
it.
there's still money in that account.
Oh, we have money. I just didn't know if
Yeah.
the figures were showing it. that-
Oh, how much is paid out?
Right.
yeah, how
And,
much we still owe them.
I mean, and we still have a month and a half of this fiscal year. So it might be paid out before September 30th.
I think it's going to be, I spoke to him yesterday. I asked him, so I think we're gonna be okay by then.
Okay.
So money came out of EDC to the fire department, to the police department to pay for cameras. So we don't have to worry about it on this information, because it's already
Right.
under.
Right. Yes, yes, ma'am.
It's not projected for, budgeted for next year.
Under that last budget.
But we don't know that it's actually represented here as actual payouts even this year, right? So I can't find a line item that goes, yeah, this is where we paid out so far.
Right, right. I'm sorry.
No, that's not you.
So I will find that.
When I ask questions, Fred, I'm not picking on you. I just.
I don't
like
take
to
it.
know that you
I don't,
have
I don't take it as you pick it on me. I feel bad that I can't fully answer your question. So next year I'll be able to.
Not even knowing that cameras. I mean,
So, any other questions on EDC? Okay, and I'll look into that septic system.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like a stinky situation.
There you go, Tom.
Okay, so now we go to 110 Court Technology Fund. I think that this is something that I have to look into, because every bill, when someone pays for court fees, this is a line item, so there should be income recognized every time, and it's not. It's all going to just municipal court. So this will be something that I'll make sure is broken out, but we should have municipal court revenue for this technology fund every month that we have court. So it's being in the general. Last year, the revenue was budgeted at 4,000. The expenditure was budgeted at 4,000. I just want to keep it the same. 4,000 revenue and 4,000 expenditure. The next one is Court Security Fund. Here again, this is a revenue that is, it's on each ticket. And so I will make sure that those start getting recorded. It was budgeted at 3,000 last year. The expenditures are for police department and equipment. I want to keep the expenditure budgeted at 3,000.
And are we limited on what we can spend these funds on and the ones from the municipal court revenue? We are limited.
So
Right.
the security fund pays for bailiffs and any security-related stuff for the court, so it can only go to security of the court.
Okay.
And then the technology fund is like the computer the judge uses. He can pay for some of the encode software, things like that. Sound system, right, yeah. Yeah. But there should be revenue collected in that
Right.
line item.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll get that straightened out. The next fund is the Grant and Donation Fund. This is grant revenue and donation revenue that the police department and fire department receive. It was budgeted at $37.50. We've received $33.61 to date. Is $37.50 okay with you guys for the revenue? And then the expenditures are for schools and seminars, and I left that at $37.50 also. What? Yeah, we did that. This was grant and donation fund 130. The next fund is the PEG fund. That is public, educational, or government use. This receives hotel tax revenues. Now, this is misleading because the revenue that is shown on this page was actually last year's revenue. So there's no current revenue that's been allocated, which is a mistake. And then the expenditure was microphone upgrade. So we're gonna need to look into that expenditure. So,
Believe me, I've already been on the phone with them.
so I think that we need to budget like 5,000 of revenue. And then I think we just ought to budget 5,000 of expenditures. We budgeted 15,000 and we budgeted 0 revenue. I don't like a budget like that.
And this is hotel tax revenue.
That is correct.
So when you made a comment, something about nothing was recorded, so do you think we didn't get any in, or it's just recorded?
We didn't get in as much because nobody was staying in hotels in the last year.
Are you sure that's what that is? That payment amount?
It's public, educational, or government use. It's for those reasons.
And you're saying it comes from the hotel tax?
That's the revenue. It says property tax, but I looked in the detail, it was hotel tax.
Okay.
But I'll check it further to make sure. But it's to be used for public, educational, or government. Nice spread out use, public, educational, or government. I think anything we want to spend it on that comes under those headings. I just think that if we're going to budget 5,000 of revenue, we ought to budget 5,000 of expenditure, not 15,000. Is that okay with y'all? So the next is the Civic Center. Now, the Civic Center budgeted $50,950 of revenue. I don't know what we've received in prior years. That seems awful high to me. I mean, we received $2,987.
And it's also listed as hotel tax revenue.
That's
Okay.
That's hotel, that's a when you go to a hotel, you have to pay a certain tax, and that goes to the city that hotel is located in.
So we're splitting that between the PEG and the Boyd Center?
Right,
Okay.
right. But I don't know, I didn't look back and see how much we've received in prior years. I can look, I apologize, I didn't look that up. So I would think that we should budget something like 10,000. Expenditures, there's no, I'm sorry, vote on the second page. These are the expenditures that you were talking about, Kelly. He budgeted under supplies. He budgeted 4,000. That's what was budgeted last year. Miscellaneous and monitoring was budgeted 4,000. He wanted to keep that at 4,000. Year-to-date, actual, we've spent 1,444 on supplies. We've spent 2,600 on miscellaneous. We spent 4,100 on repairs, and he wanted to leave that at 6,000.
And we've got some stuff that's coming up. Things are starting to get older. We're gonna have pumpers, we gotta replace the pool, the sand filters, septic stuff. I also added on there the
I saw that you had septic 2,000 and septic maintenance 2,000.
Are you still under Voight Civic Center?
Yes, yeah. But there's no septic on there.
Yeah, it's not on there.
Those were on Kelly's. Those.
Oh, down there.
In subsequent years, are we going to have actually the revenue that the Voight Center takes in taken against these expenses?
Well, that's shown in the general fund.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I think we need to look at combining some of these special revenue funds into the general fund. I'm gonna look
Okay.
into that.
Okay, all right.
So septic maintenance is a maintenance agreement. Come out quarterly, visually inspect, make sure there's no problems, that kind of stuff. The septic repairs or the septic that I put down there is for like, we need to pump it every year. That's anywhere from $900 to $1,500, depending on how bad it is.
Right.
Repairs, I had a couple contractors go out this last year, I managed to get those changed out myself, just minor stuff like that, but I want to have some funds in there to be able to keep this place
Right.
up and running like it's running.
So we're on 228.
Well, actually, he's got those as a separate line item. It's gonna be
Add those line items.
septic maintenance, and then he also wants to add in pest control.
If you look behind your blue divider, all the way to the back,
That,
blue,
Okay, what tab?
it's behind the red tab.
the red tab,
Behind the red tab?
behind the red tab, all the way back, there's a blue divider there, one that says Voight Civic Fund,
And I think it's about the last page.
the second to last page.
Okay.
Voight Civic Fund?
Mhm.
The Voight Civic Fund. So what I've added on there was the septic, and septic maintenance and pest control. So we have pest control here, they come out quarterly and spray City Hall and City Hall complex to help keep insects down. We're starting to get a lot more insects down at the park. My guys maintain stuff out in the turf area, but when you start getting up in the buildings and pool, where people are at, we need to bring in pest control company.
How much extra would that cost for the park area?
I don't know, I did not price that. I can price that.
I only asked because there was an incident, I heard there were a bunch of ants. In fact, I'm gonna give kudos to Chief. My son was at a birthday party about here last month, and at the pool, and Chief came out and showed him all kinds of
Oh,
fun
yeah.
little things, and
Yeah.
I mean, I just heard all about it, it's great. But apparently there was a lot of ants or something.
It was.
So that's some of the stuff we're trying to control.
So Kelly, he's budgeted for supplies, he's budgeted 14,000. Then water, gas, telephone, he's budgeted 13,000 for water, 21,000 for electric, and 3,700 for telephone. And then he budgeted 4,000 on septic maintenance and repairs, and 3,000 on pest control.
So not the 2,000.
Well, there's two on the septic.
There's septic and septic maintenance.
There's maintenance and there's repairs.
And what is telephone under this?
So we have emergency line.
Okay.
I'm actually in the process, we also have internet down there. So I'm actually in the process of working, because we're having some issues down there. I'm hoping I don't have to come back to council and say, hey, we got this big.
We are too.
How much is that emergency phone down there costing you?
I do not have that thing.
Because it shouldn't be $3,700.
We've got an emergency line, and we've got a line in the Voight Center, we've got a line in the lifeguard's office, so there's 3 lines, and then we have the internet service down there, and we have, the internet service, just the fire alarm wireless, correct?
Are the cameras on that same
We've got a
system?
wired line and a wireless line.
So there's a wire line for the fire.
So this is beyond just the emergency pool pump. This is beyond that. Okay.
So his total budget for expenditures on the Voight Fund is 58.7. And revenue, I mean, they budgeted 50,950 in revenue, but I don't know if that's a legit amount. So,
58.7 on total expenditures.
right,
Page 3, 150 Voice Center, is that what we're back to?
yes, ma'am. So let me check on the hotel fund as for prior years, how much we got on that in the prior years. And then I can get back to you on that.
And that's a weird deal because the town a while back entered into an agreement with that hotel, and a certain amount of what we bring in has to go back to the hotel. They use it for marketing.
Right.
So, I don't know how you work that into the budget, but have fun with that.
Were you aware of that?
No?
You have to bring receipts, right, for
Can I ask Jeff?
marketing and stuff, yeah.
But the hotel has to supply the receipts for
Yeah, it's part of the
marketing
market.
receipts.
Yeah.
It has to be used for marketing. And with outreach. Yeah, right.
So, okay, I'll have to check into that and get you some more information so that we can have a decent budget.
Are y'all familiar with all that hotel tax thing? So we collect taxes from the hotel. When we collect it back, we need a contract with them to give them back X amount of dollars to promote and market. So we'll collect all these taxes, but then once a year, once a quarter,
Okay,
we
go,
come back and send them a check designated strictly for marketing.
move over to 400 fund, which is hotel tax fund, in the sheets that I gave you.
Hotel tax fund.
Right, so there's a budget for revenue and then a budget back to the hotel.
So
It's-
$7,600.
It says, it's Fund 400, hotel tax fund.
Cut off on one, so. 400, so we're cutting them back $7,600.
We, that's what it was budgeted, but we don't show any payments. So I don't know where that is being charged when we've paid them.
Well, and if they don't provide receipts, we're not gonna pay it, right?
Well, it's a contract that we signed.
But if they aren't they required to provide receipts?
That was it was in the auditor's report,
Yeah.
that we hadn't gotten receipts.
Yeah, so why would we pay it?
We budgeted though.
Okay. I'm just saying it's an audit opportunity.
Okay, did we opt to make that agreement, or is that a law?
No, a previous council did that to settle a lawsuit, because they sued us because we weren't spending the money. And so that was part of the agreement, that, number one, we don't collect as much tax as we previously did, and that they get a portion of it back for that.
And you said the hotel fee?
Hotels do that.
Yes.
Can we help you out on that?
No, that's what I thought you said, too, if we weren't advertising for it.
Or if we weren't using the money, we were collecting it and not using it.
So I'm going to analyze the hotel tax revenue, give you better information on that. We're budgeting 58.7 on the Voight Civic Center. So I know I'm skipping around. So do you have any other questions on the Voight Civic Center? I'll put that one to bed. So the next page is the asset forfeiture fund. I think hadn't you given us a wild guess as to what we might,
Fred, is this the state one or is this the federal one? 'Cause we have two. Actually, we have three. There's an IRS one too.
IRS,
And there's actually money coming from the IRS.
really?
Yeah, we have it's called a DAG. We have a claim out there for it's $1 million property that we were a small part of getting. I don't know what the amount is, but yeah, there'll be more.
I don't know which one this is.
The numbers are pretty small. So
Yeah,
it's state,
we've only spent 457.
that's state.
There's a
Okay.
seizure fund at 900, which is further back.
That one is the federal one.
Okay, so this is state.
So asset forfeiture estate.
Okay,
I don't think we're gonna get anything this coming year, but I would put something there just in case we do.
I put 400 revenue and 400 expenditure. And then the next page is that hotel tax fund. We had budgeted 7,500, we've received 7,179 to date. I felt like we should budget 10,000 revenue, but I would imagine that we're gonna have to budget some to pay them. I don't like budgeting 7,500 revenue and budget 7,625. That doesn't make sense. So I would think we budget 10,000 revenue and budget 7,500 to them. Does that sound okay? It's a guess. No.
And
We,
what we keep goes to the Boyd Civic Fund, right?
that would be a transfer. That's additional, that's other, we split out the hotel motel tax to other funds.
So the Boyd Center being one fund, and then what was the other one?
Yeah, it was, there was,
Two other funds we just covered.
How long is that contract? Is that current?
Yeah, I think so.
I just wanna make sure we get receipts. Okay.
the PEG fund gets some hotel tax.
So we got the PEG, we got the Boyd Center, and then we kick some of this back to the hotel itself for, once they prove up their marketing receipts.
Right. Okay, the next fund is the sewer fund. We budgeted 95,000 revenue and 95,000 expenditure. We've received 83,000 to date. That equates to 115,000. So I budgeted 115 revenue, 115 expenditure.
Now, I don't even know what to ask about this, but are we supposed to raise the rates so that the people who have sewer incur this cost on their own, and the people who do not have sewer aren't paying for it? Isn't that how that's supposed to work? So we need to raise the sewer rates for whoever's paying for it, because it's not paying for itself anymore, is what.
I
Did the
remember
auditor
that.
say that before?
Yeah, the auditor said that, yeah.
So we have some homes that are on sewer, and you're saying that.
But the businesses are the big items that are on sewer.
There's a few homes.
Jason across the street did, didn't he? Isn't Jason across the street who's on sewer, isn't he?
Skyway is less than.
I don't know if he is or not.
Well, I know a couple of neighbors who are on sewer that aren't paying for, are on sewer that aren't paying for their own perimeter. I mean, it's just probably too, probably.
So at some point, I don't even know how we would get that ball rolling, but it's something that we need to address, because we shouldn't be eating that expense when we don't have a sewer.
Right.
Be passed on.
Well, I mean, I wasn't budgeting more expenditure than revenue. I was budgeting equal, but
Well,
if,
this isn't directed towards you.
I understand. I
It
understand.
looks like, I'm just looking at the year-to-date though, because you said the auditor caught up that we were getting behind on it, but it looks like we're pretty dead even. The
Yeah.
dates are accurate. That's a big if.
That's a big if.
Okay. But yes, we need to pass it on.
So you want to budget 120 revenue and expenditure 115?
Whatever you want to do.
The point is, we're just gonna collect, I guess, other than, we need to collect what other people are supposed to pay for it with the addition of our city hall.
Right, okay. All right, I'm going to budget 120 revenue, I'm going to budget expenditure 115. So the next one is the venue tax fund. The venue tax fund receives 25% of the sales tax. That equates to $342,500. And we will be paying
342,500,
$342,500, yes.
not this 300.
Yeah, where is that number? I see the 300.
What 300? I don't see the 3.
You've got it written in pencil.
Oh, that was a guess.
Okay.
That was a guess. The actual amount is 342.5.
342.5.
Right. And then the payments on the bond will be 204,995.
That's under the contract services?
Yes,
Oh, you got it on already, 204,995.
right. I mean, there was budget for public works, there was budget for non-departmental, but this fund is to pay the bond.
And is this something that we can look at if we're wanting to pay extra on the bond? Have we found out any information?
I haven't gotten a call back from that lady. I will call her in the morning. Kind of upsets me that she didn't call me back.
So what's the 45-4 over here on the far right?
I wrote that, but I don't remember what that is. I think that was one of the interest payments.
One of the interest payments.
Right, because if you look, Daisy gave us that information. So,
Is this where the remainder of the public works salaries is? Is that 83,826 where it says public works under expenditure summary?
but that makes no sense.
That makes no sense?
I mean, why would it be here?
You're saying that's a salary for public works?
That was a budget.
Yeah, and this is the venue fund. So are you thinking it shouldn't be there? It should just come out of it? If we can take it out of there, shouldn't we?
Well, I would transfer out of this to the general fund instead of, because it's,
You're not budgeting for it again here. You're just budgeting for the bond payment out of there.
right. So I think we ought to budget a transfer out of this to the general fund,
Well, let's do that.
okay? Because when you're talking about his salary, it's not just salary, it's salary and all the related benefits.
Right.
So
It's just so confusing.
it is.
And then it appears on our finance report that he's, over budget when he's not.
Right. So let's budget a transfer of, yeah, we've got room, so let's do a budget transfer of 80,000.
Or are we gonna take out the non-departmental and the parks and rec too?
Right.
So all of it? So you're looking at, what, 91,000?
I've got a budget of 284 and revenue of 342, because I've got bond payments of 204,995, and then transfer out of 80.
Okay.
So we've still got excess revenue in this fund.
So that will show as the full salary now under public works.
Right.
Okay.
The next is the street tax fund. This gets 12.5% of sales tax. I can't remember what that works out to be, but it's,
Same as that other one.
right, 100, what was it? Yeah, it was 171,250. And the expenditures were the street construction. So the other revenue is the money that we're getting back from from CPS. So we have a receivable right now due from them of 500,000. So the street project was $1.7 million, and CPS was going to reimburse us $1 million. So we were going to spend a total $700,000 on the street project. So there were some expenditures in the prior year, and then we have expenditures in the current year, and we have miscellaneous revenue, but there's more to come in of the miscellaneous revenue.
So we had a total receivable for CPS of $1 million.
No, we've received some of that already.
That's why I'm asking, but it was total, so we've gotten half of it so far.
We've gotten more than that.
So we still have 500,000 still to go.
They owe us 500,000 right now, and there's only 74,000 left on the job.
Okay.
So this plus the receivable is about what,
So once we say the job is completed, we pay out the retainage, that's when CPS cuts their check to us.
no, they cut their check. We've already billed them. I sent them
Not
a,
billed them, we just haven't received it.
right,
Okay.
right. My previous, my previous person in this job waited like 6 months and sent the bill to CPS, and they came unglued because it covered 2 fiscal years and they hadn't budgeted for it. So they were not happy with him at all. So when I sent the letter to them, I talked to the guy and he goes, I said, I'm new, and he goes, yeah, that previous person. I went, I know. But this is a current billing. So,
So with this, is this kind of typical to keep it at 12.5%, and then when we want to do some big street repairs, we take money from tech school, or we take money somewhere else, or is this something that needs to be budgeted, like asset and renewal type of thing? Like, obviously, it's not an asset, but is this something where we can decide right now, let's put some more money in here?
Not for the street fund.
Okay.
It's a dedicated sales tax, so if you shop
Okay,
here,
just
you
it
know,
then.
half of your 2% sales tax goes into the general fund, and then a quarter goes into.
the
Right.
venue,
Venue bonds.
to pay the bonds.
Right, and then, so that's why this is.
Okay, so this is just it.
And we can only spend it on streets.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't have a budget as to what we want to spend on streets. If we're going to get 171,000, we probably need to budget. I mean, would we have street repairs?
Well, that's some street repairs, but we need to look at further on down this year. Continuing with the street project, bringing in and doing the next stage in the steep street
That
project.
last budget was what, 2 point?
Well, it was 1.7 was the contract on the street.
That didn't cover a whole
And
lot.
we don't know yet how that compares to.
So so this is showing that, is this correct that we have 766,405 in the street funding textbook?
That's on this, the tab underneath the yellow tab that she's looking at.
Yes.
Right.
So we already have that in there. Is any of that gonna go to the street repairs that we've already made, or we still have that much in after we just did that street project?
We owe them what?
Well, we owe them, we're holding retainage of about 165,000, and there's 74,000 left on the contract. Now, remember that I had you write that check for 800,000.
Yeah.
I know you do remember that well.
So that would take care of that 766,000, is that right? If you were to check for 800,000?
Yeah, basically, the 800,000 came out of the general fund. I'll get it straight, but it will take up the majority of that tax pool.
Okay, so that's,
And that was for streets that were previously done in the last year.
In this,
So then we have a lot of money to put in for budget or from a special fund or something if we want to move forward with more street work.
I think we ought to budget 170,000. I mean, we've got 171,250 we're budgeting in revenue. I think we need to budget that in street expenditure.
Typically, we try to get it done every few years, but we hadn't done it in a long time since this last project. So yeah, I agree, start putting some money in there. The other issue we're gonna have is, there's no guarantee we're gonna get anybody who wants to do this. This last contractor, he was the only one that bid on it.
And that was through CPS.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of companies that wanna do this size
They want to do
project.
giant projects. And
Yeah,
it's
they're
very
all-
difficult.
They're so busy with big contracts that we're at their mercy.
In fact, didn't we send it out, and a couple of big companies just threw numbers at us, and then we came back and sent it out again?
Yeah, we did 5.
They just throw a number out there to see if we can fight. Just
Well, it's a big
outrageous.
number, it looks like, from 2013, we're talking millions, so, I mean, I think that's something to consider, obviously,
just keep in mind, when we do the road project again, we need to talk the residents into ribbon curbs.
Oh, I don't
Some
think you have to talk them into it.
sort
I think
of
it's a point of frustration.
Well, now, there's a lot of people that don't want curbs.
That's not what I've heard.
Well, I've
I
heard
think
the
the
other way.
ribbon curves are popular, not the true
Ribbon
curves.
curve,
Ribbon curves are very
we tried this last project.
It was too expensive.
Yeah, that's
It
all.
is.
Well, it is
With the
expensive,
budget.
but that also maintains the longevity of that
It's
street.
huge for longevity.
Yes, you gotta put a border on it, otherwise you just start deteriorating from the crown down.
So in the midst of that, what I'm saying is that, and I don't know if this is the time for the discussion, but annually, $171,000 doesn't seem enough to me when you think about the big picture of how expensive the road.
Well, you just got to figure where the money's come from.
Okay.
So you asked if there is some road projects. I do have one pretty good sized road project, the intersection there at,
Danella and
William Clausen and Danella. I mean, I don't have any idea. We're still working on numbers, trying to find out what it's gonna cost, but we're gonna have to go down and basically concrete that entire intersection.
So that's gonna close that intersection up for a while.
Excuse me?
It's gonna close that intersection up for quite a while.
It is.
So Glenna, what we've done in the past, we have just done a pay-as-you-go, okay? And so we'll let that street fund build up, and then when we, when it gets enough money in there, then we'll say, okay, now what project do we want to go for? And then supplement, with the general fund too. But that's how we've typically done it in the past, it's just pay-as-you-go, build up the fund, do another project, build it up again.
That's just to get flush and not have to get some sort of debt.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd have to float a bond issue.
I think that's wise. It's, so in saying that, is 171 enough money? In
Well-
my mind, it doesn't look like it.
But that's all we can.
That's all we can.
We can because of the percentage coming in.
Right.
But I do have a question with that. So is that 500,000 CPS receivable, is that sitting on the balance sheet right now?
No.
So where does that, okay, one, where are we gonna slot it? Where are you gonna slot it? And then where does it?
Well, we should get it before September 30.
Is that still gonna be earmarked for street fund?
It's going to come into this miscellaneous revenue
Okay,
account.
So you're gonna get the 12.5%, 171, 250, plus the $500,000 that's gonna go into that fund. Okay, but we don't have it sitting anywhere right now.
No.
Okay.
So then we'll be back up to about 700,000.
Yeah, but yes. Sure. Seizure fund,
I'd leave it the same, Fred.
Which one is this cheaper, is this state or
federal,
That's a federal, the 900 is federal.
so you would keep it at 45,000?
Yeah, there is no way for me to tell you how it comes in, it's just not, I wish there was, I could sell that secret if I knew it.
Sure.
There's no way to
Okay,
know.
so if we budget 45,000 revenue, and then the next page are the,
Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sole discretion over its use, but if we're gonna put it on part of our budget, do you know what's come in?
Well, we have to have a number here, that's, every year we've done this, we
Right,
just
but do you
put
know
a
what's
number.
come in?
Do I
We
know
have an
what's
actual
come in?
year-to-date that's come in?
Sure.
Do we know, what is it?
But we've spent all of that on this prior project, it's something like 80, over the last 3 years, 89, I want to say, Sean.
Over 3 years ago, 89 come in, so we could split that out evenly, okay? So you're about 30 grand
over 3 years.
over 3 years. So over 30 grand every 3 years is about what you've been seeing.
Yeah, but we've got a few more sitting here than normal, but I follow your logic. I mean, I'm good either way, honestly, because there's no way for me to know.
I just want to know, because if we're going to have it in the budget, part of the budget oversight, what is it? Otherwise, we shouldn't have it here, so.
Yeah, I was just told, I don't know if this is true or not, Fred, we were told a couple years ago, we have to have a budget. Because we have the revenue, so you have to have a budget of some sort.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I want to know what our,
But if you,
I've got no year-to-date numbers, so I've got.
Sure,
no
yeah.
I know.
So I just want to know what it is.
Yeah.
if you go over budget, there's extra,
It's all good.
right? So
So you want to budget 45 or 30?
I like Sean's logic of 30.
Okay.
It's a good average.
All right. And then on the expenditures on the next page, it's basically PD miscellaneous and capital outlay. So you want to just budget 30 expenditure?
So this one, this 223, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
I think that is the mobile field force equipment. Debbie, do you remember that? When we did that earlier when the riots and stuff were going on, and we got all that equipment we had to have? I think that's what that is, but I'm not 100% sure.
So that was a one-time purchase, you're not gonna.
Right, so, yeah, the moral of the story is I don't think we have to have anything there.
Well, I think since we're showing 30,000 coming in, I would show a budget of 30 of
Yeah, I
expenditures.
guess if something comes up during the year,
Are you spending it under supplies?
I'd put it under supplies. That concludes the special revenue funds. So I have a lot of to do to get ready for final figures. I'd like a little extra time
Day after tomorrow?
next week.
Well, it sounds like, if I'm correct me wrong, it sounds like we really need to find out what the bond language is, if we can pay it out early, because that's gonna talk to us about fire or not fire truck, that kind of thing.
Well-
Because we really, because we're paying, what, 14% interest, I didn't quite figure it out, but it's a lot of interest paying on that bond.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to pay that off first with the excess funds, get that gone, if we can, there's no prepayment.
Right. I don't, excuse me, it wouldn't be 14%. It,
Well, I didn't figure it out, but it was a
yeah.
lot.
It should be like 3 or 4 or 5%.
It looked like more than that, but I'll go back and look at it. It looked like it, you know.
With that said, we need to make sure what our priorities are. How bad do we need the truck? as
Right,
opposed to
that's what I'm
paying off the
saying.
bond? I mean, we've got a 20-year-old truck. How much more do we want to sink into that?
Right.
And, you know, Chief was telling me that the trade-in value on that truck, $16,000.
Well,
That's the
we,
trade-in value. That's
we
not
might be able,
outside sales.
yeah, we might be able to sell it to,
So I think that's something, I think that's a bigger priority.
right.
Is it getting this town, because that's, think of it this way, that truck comes in here, we got 20 years. Let's see how we are in 20 years, that's how long that truck should be able to last.
Right.
Plus
So,
that cost is gonna go up if we wait.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
3% cost, what our actual interest payments on that bond are, and if we could pay it off without penalty, and then you can't fit it in the garage.
That was,
That's my
that
big
was the
concern.
question.
That's another issue.
Casey, that's okay.
I mean, that's not my problem.
They make-
In the garage, I mean, I'd like to get a piece of equipment that we can actually use until we save for my guys, but that building there was never a fire station, that was City Hall. And it's,
Right, but you're gonna get wear and tear on a brand new piece of equipment that you can't cover.
They can make a hood for that. They can
Well,
make
no,
a
it just, there's other opportunities
so
like that.
somehow or another, if I have to go to Home Depot and buy a tarp,
Zip ties and new trucks.
And then there's 30,000 feet of going, well, who's gonna actually get the benefit of that fire truck to actually fight fires? It's not gonna be Hollywood Park. It'll be Bearable, Verde, it'll be City San Antonio, it'll be Hill Country Village.
Hollywood
I mean,
Park will benefit from it as well.
well, I'm not trying to knock, but most of your fire calls are, you know, Bearable, Verde, or Hill Country Village.
It's your town and your businesses.
I'm just
telling you what we need, it's your job to tell me. what
I
you
know,
need.
I'm throwing it all out there on the table. That's 30,000 feet, 'cause at some point, I wanna go back to Bear County and hit them over the head. And I wanna have a conversation, if citizens of Hollywood Park are paying for this fire coverage and the equipment to do it, Bear County needs to get reasonable about that. Because you'll have less and less municipalities willing to spend those kind of money, those kind of expenditures to provide that opportunity for Bear County. But when they sign these permits to have apartment buildings go, oh, yeah, sure, Hollywood Park will do it. It's a pro. Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind this for the apartment complex.
Well, that's how it's gonna get spent.
I think it's not gonna be used.
Bear County is getting the benefit of our taxes on this opportunity. That's my issue with it.
I have,
Well, first, let me ask you one question. Is there a gently used truck that we could get?
I mean, we could buy a used truck, but we're gonna be buying somebody else's today. I'll be buying whatever I'm getting rid of, basically, is what it's gonna be.
What about the demo?
I mean, it'll be cheaper to
It's
keep what we
sold.
have and keep fixing it every year.
Okay.
How long,
Well, I'm changing topics, so if you're talking about that, go ahead.
how many years do you think that we could legitimately get out of it still? I have.
If you got a new one,
Well, no, if we kept ours right now and we thought big picture, my thought is buying a fire truck that doesn't fit into a garage, that feels like we're gonna have to piecemeal a solution. Having a garage door open or having to build something to keep it in the garage. I'm just thinking big picture, you know, goals that the city council might want to set forth is, what about creating a new fire stations, you know, with it done well, not piecemeal, but hiring an architect and looking at future plans for getting it where we need it to be.
To answer your question, we can keep that. Right now, the AC doesn't work on it, and I've been holding off trying to fix it in hopes that maybe we can get a new truck. But, every time something goes down on it, we send it into the shop, it's out for a month or so, and we don't have a truck. So, you know, that's completely up to you how long you want to continue to put money into it and make it last. I don't know, did you ever get a chance to look up the NFPA 1901 on fire trucks?
The-
I did. Yeah, last meeting you asked for, it's National Fire Protection Association.
Oh, that's right, about the
NFPA
longevity, that's right.
1901. They say 20 years, and then after 25 years, even a refurbished truck is not serviceable. So, we're done. I mean, that truck's done with its lifespan. Its lifespan is over. So all I can tell you is, we either get a new truck, or we keep.
putting money into,
Excuse me, Debbie, isn't there something to do with the deed on when they gave us this building about changing the structure of it? Did the deed do something?
I think it's just the property has to have
Fire
a
truck?
fire department
That's
on it,
just
right?
to have a fire station on it, yeah. And we could change the building, because the building wasn't a fire station.
Have y'all been in the fire, have most y'all been in the fire station? See how tight that truck fits in there? Yeah, it's super tight.
So, yeah, there was something in the deed about that the property does have to house a fire station.
So I would like to change topics now for a second.
We don't have a human resources person here. And you had talked about possibly
outsourcing.
outsourcing, so I'd like to discuss that a little bit. I don't know if anybody looked into pricing or who could do that.
I haven't.
Yeah, I brought that topic up because we're so small. I really think we need to have human resources outsourced. Because in the past, whoever it was, mind you, our last human resource officer was Jeff Henson. You lose all privacy. This gossip starts, he tells somebody something, and the next thing I know, we're in a lawsuit. My thought was this outsource human resource, for as much as we use it, it'd be cheaper to outsource it. We're not paying taxes, we're not paying salaries, X, Y, Z. They're up to date on all the laws and all the rules. We put up a sign up here in all the common areas. If you have a human resource issue to some degree, just call this number. They can file it discreetly. Nobody has to tell anybody anything. Because if they see an employee go to our human resource officer for that reason, it starts, it just starts building up what's going on, and starts making accusations. I just think we need to have more privacy in that because of today's climate. If any employee, you know what, I got something to talk to him about, but I don't want to tell him because they're friends with him and so forth. I really want to try to push that because I really think they need to have the ability to go somewhere and not have to worry about anybody else. Human resource isn't used that often. So to have somebody in here as a human resource officer, and then the previous city secretary allowed all the personnel records full access. They weren't secure. And those are something I don't want to go back to that again.
What would an annual contract run?
I have no idea. And I don't know if you're looking just for outsourcing if someone has complaints, or if you're looking for someone to do your onboarding when you have a new employee to get other paperwork and process all that. I don't know what you're looking for.
I'm looking for the whole human resources combined.
So does that include payroll?
No.
You don't want to, I mean, because I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
a lot of times those are just lumped together.
Like an ADP or
Yeah,
something like
or
that.
ESI or something, you just throw out your HR and everything
The
else.
thought was we could try it the first year because of all the new faces in here. Let's get that out of the way. And if it doesn't work and it's not feasible, then we'll just try to go back and get a human resource person. But once you have a lot of body in here, we're paying taxes on it. We're paying insurance, and we're paying vacation, we're paying a whole, there's a whole lot of
Retirement.
expense in retirement. So if you
Health
contract it
insurance.
out, they know exactly what they're doing, they're updated on all the laws, and they follow the procedure discreetly. And then those that be, those that need to know, would proceed with whatever needs to be done, and we don't have to get all this spreading process.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you and throw payroll in with that too, because they're generally,
Well, unfortunately, we got different payroll system here, different payroll system here,
okay,
and then we got two guys that still get payroll, sign checks for.
okay.
And, I thought that'd be a good idea as well, but I think that, let's start smaller. Let's just get this human resource out of the way.
So I would like to know what the department heads think about that.
I think it's a great idea. I've discussed it with the mayor, and this is a really small city. Everybody here knows each other. And if you go to HR, you're either going to someone that doesn't like you or someone that doesn't like you. It's gonna be one or the other, So, I think it would be good to have someone on the outside that doesn't have a dog in the fight and doesn't really care who you are. They're more focused towards what the laws are. And what's right and wrong. So I'm in favor of it. I totally. And there's been people here that they call HR that really are not, have never had any training in
Right.
HR. And you go to them, and like I said, there's been people that I wouldn't, I'd be afraid to go complain to because maybe the complaint was even about them. So,
Sure.
I think it's good to have an outside agency.
So this has really come up before with this group
Well,
in
this
the
has
building.
been a big
It's been a big issue.
I
Okay.
will say, when I came on, Debbie, I met each of the employees, and I asked them if you needed me to change one thing, what would it be? And they said, human resource, we don't want to go to Janet. And so that's kind of what Johnny's saying, is that, does she like you, does she not, does the gossip go around?
To elaborate on that, like Johnny said, if you go to somebody and you know them well enough and you like them, is that a favorable situation to be in?
No.
Talk to Chief Pritchard and talk to Kelly about it also. What are your thoughts, Chief?
I'd like to keep the in-processing here with us because it's more,
You mean the payroll?
In your department?
Like
ours is completely
the
separate.
paperwork and onboarding and things like
Yeah,
that?
the onboarding, I think we should keep in-house because it's so intricate and tailored,
You're right.
and it changes every year. Insurance and things change.
Uh-huh.
But as far as the general HR, I think it's a great idea. It would be a great improvement over what we've had in the past. I would applaud that and welcome it. So would the employees.
Kelly?
I also support, doing the HR outsourcing. One of the concerns that I've seen is, and granted that we had, that was running HR for the last year, but there was no confidence that you could go in there and talk to them and it was going to be confidential. So people wouldn't go. They'd rather not say anything than take the chance of it getting out there. And if it's outsourced, you don't have that problem. Nobody knows. But once again, I also agree, I want to keep the paperwork in-house.
And when I say paperwork, I'm talking about like the I-9 and, the W-4 and those kind of things, that kind of thing. Y'all can handle that on
Yeah.
your own?
Yes.
Well, I probably would be handling
Well,
that.
you'd got to handle for payroll. You're going to have it.
Payroll first was the one normally doing that.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
Yeah, the hiring process is not the issue.
So it's mainly for complaints and concerns, someone to go to for complaints and concerns?
Yes, I would say that would be a more accurate statement.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Brett?
I think it's a good idea. I think an employee needs an impartial person, like if they have an issue with you.
Yeah.
You want somebody that knows our benefits, they can go and talk to. If they
Right.
have a medical question about benefits, or
Right.
a retirement question, those
Okay.
come up a lot, actually, with employees, and nobody answers those questions.
So it's not just complaints,
So
then
it's HR and Benny's then?
You can
Right.
get your payroll clerk to be read onto your pay and benefits, and then you have your HR handled by somebody else. That would probably, you need somebody to go talk to you about benefits.
Right.
Time to time, even we do. Right?
And that would not be the
That is the
treasurer?
paid person that-
Or-
Yeah, the treasurer would be able to handle a benefit question. Well, see, I tried to outsource payroll, it got shut down, so now we're back to in-house.
What do y'all
Yeah.
think about outsourcing payroll? Just as a,
Well, they generally go together. If you've outsourced HR and Benny's, you've generally outsourced payroll. And so you're talking about something that's kind of different for me. So I'm just thinking about in terms of if we go contract this, okay, I don't want your payroll opportunity, I don't want your benefit opportunity. I just want a complaint opportunity, and that's all I want to pay for. I haven't seen, I'm sure it exists, I just haven't seen that
well,
arrangement.
this is something to think about, because just recently, Jeanette's gone. She did payroll. For days you're trying to do payroll. We didn't have a backup payroll clerk. We had nobody that knew how to do payroll. If we had a complete service like that, it's all processed. They
Yeah.
call us up, deposit this amount, click, click, click,
They
it's
make
all
the-
out of deposits now. Everybody puts this, well, except two or three of them, because we sign individual checks. But it would make things run a whole lot smoother.
But you're still having to transmit payroll,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys still gotta transmit it.
Yeah.
You can still onboard it, or you can have them onboard it for you.
I'd rather speak for myself, but department heads know intricately what our payroll looks like. We do it, we just don't input it. If you let us input it, we can handle payroll. Because his payroll is
Well,
I think we've talked about that.
yeah, I think that you could still input it, but it could still be done by a payroll service.
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, the way it works now, for my organizations, it's all that's outsourced. Benny's are outsourced, HR's outsourced, payroll's outsourced. And I just cut them a check every 2 weeks, and they're making the quarterly tax payments, they're figuring out all the payroll taxes. I mean, it's just, I'm cutting one check every 2 weeks, boom, or I'm wire transferring is actually what I'm doing, it's done. And it's not very expensive.
I would still rather, like, submit it to Fred and have him send it into the payroll service. Because, and the only reason I say that is because on occasion, I'll get a call from whoever's working in that office, and it's like, hey, you put this down on the payroll, is this right? And it's like, oh, no, that's in the wrong column.
Yeah, you have that opportunity.
I
Yeah.
like,
He's not doing it. He's
I like
full-time now.
I like having someone, look at it and double check.
He could do that, so what would happen is we had an outsource, no, he really could, because what it would do is you submit it, right? And then what they'll do is Fred can pull a payroll register, and he can just go through it, it'll be a timesheet report, he can check off the hours, he can make sure it's right, and then he'll submit it to the third party, go, yeah, submit, boom, it's good to go. So he gets to
Right.
see it all before it goes through.
Right.
I'm not trying to add to your stuff, I mean, if I'm removing payroll from you, I'm helping you.
One of the other advantages of outsourcing payroll is there's liability.
Well, it's,
Is now passed on to the company doing payroll. When I had my business, I outsourced my payroll also.
Most people do anymore.
Because of the liability issue.
Right.
I didn't want government to be able to go back there, you messed up here. So
well, they're still gonna come, we still have the ultimate in the liability.
Right.
The liability doesn't transfer, it's still ours. We have to make sure they're doing the right thing.
I used to have it in my business, and they'd call me up, transfer X amount of dollars,
No.
transfer the money, and it's done.
But your treasurer still can oversee it, so he goes, okay, we've got this payroll cycle we're paying, he pulls the gross to net payroll register, he verifies it, he verifies the hours, and boom, he says, submit, yeah, it's good to go.
So hypothetically, if we did something like this, what would this come out? Is it something we have to budget and admin, or?
It'd be a contractual service.
Right.
Like ADP or something like that.
ADP, ESI,
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch
there's
of them.
about 15 out there.
I've used ADP before.
Paychecks.
Michael?
I think I agree with what everybody's already said. So if you want to outsource, especially HR, finance, not my, bailiwick, I appeal to you, Fred, but yeah, resources, absolutely.
Glenn?
Not just for complaints, but,
Well, let me ask one thing, because would you be in favor of that, Fred?
I'd be fine with it.
You would be good with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
able to do it though? Is it a big burden to you?
We're gonna,
Payroll?
I mean, we do payroll now.
They do payroll now in-house.
Right.
So it's not a big deal. I mean,
I mean,
It's not like an extra burden or.
it's a hassle when the one person that was in charge of it, and I hadn't learned how to do
How
it.
does that work in regard to our plan for cross-training? We're gonna have Jeanette, then we're gonna have, I mean, so in my mind, that kind of could be also cross-trained.
Right.
I'm not sure that Patrick didn't do payroll.
I don't know if he had any experience. Jeanette and I were gonna continue to do it. It wasn't gonna be with Patrick. That was gonna become the finance department.
So I go back to wanting to outsource because Fred gets sick, Jeanette gets sick. It's a constant service, it can always be, it's uninterrupted
Right.
in all that regard. Whether it's HR, whether it's payroll, it's always gonna be there, updated. We can call them up, send it in, they get it done. If he's not here, somebody can just get it in and go. Here, we're having to worry about, like, right now, without Patrick, without Jeanette. Tomorrow night, we're gonna have Francis take the minutes of the meeting. We're piecing this together. We're trying to get this whole town, just move forward as much as we can with a whole lot of missing parts. So, we're all working together as a really good team. I think everybody's working together as a really good team.
Does anybody have,
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about what, $150, maybe $200 a payroll period for the opportunity?
For the outside service?
Outside,
No, it's more than that.
is it? Because I don't think mine's much more than that.
how many employees do you have?
Well, it's only like 14 employees,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be.
I don't know if it's cost prohibitive to do the
Yeah,
whole thing.
So that would be one thing to consider, is how much is it gonna cost to do this?
Yeah, I heard that too.
So, how, I know we talked about doing payroll through Encode. Would that make it a lot easier, or would it still be easier to outsource?
I think that would still be best if y'all input it through Encode, and then I would review it, and then we would still send it to outsource.
So basically, you're still doing the
I'm still
same
doing
thing.
some of it. I'm still overseeing it.
Yeah.
Currently, Jeanette would do payroll, start that early in the morning, and she would be doing that for 3 to 4 hours. She should have put a sign on her door, do not disturb during payroll. Because it's a lot of work, payroll's a lot of work. Because maybe we don't have it set up on Encode yet.
Right.
Maybe that's something, I mean, is that something we can address later then, once we get Edco, we're gonna spend a lot of money to get that taken care of, right? Or fix it, or get it updated. I mean, I'll defer to you, but I also think we're purposely trying to cross-train. I mean, that's part of what we have admin for.
Yeah, I don't know that you wanna cross-train payroll a whole lot, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I just don't, because you have access to file sensitive information. I don't think you want a lot of cross-training on payroll.
And
I
it's
don't.
outsourced again, like HR, it stays secret. Nobody knows what's going on, nobody's looking at somebody's check. I think it's a lot more privacy. Because in today's climate, a lot of people, they start getting nosy, looking, well, how come she's getting this? How come
Right.
she's getting this?
Sure.
Sure.
And you'll still journal entry the opportunities, so.
So if it's cost prohibitive to contract out the whole thing,
No, it's not cost prohibitive.
it's not?
No. It's just a fee that we would have to incur.
Well, right, but I mean, how much is it?
That's what I was trying to get a gauge. I don't know how much, I know what it costs
You
for
know,
me.
are we talking $100,000?
No,
or-
no. I think we'd be talking 15 or 20,000.
Really?
A year?
Uh-huh.
You think it'd be that high?
Yeah, I think it could.
How many
Because
employees? Okay, 48 employees, okay.
So, you know, I'm redoing the personnel policies too, and it throughout, it references human resources, human resources, human resources, so.
Yeah.
I think you're right. About, maybe as cheap as 15, maybe. I
Oh,
go
well,
with
let's look at it
In the
then.
employee policies, could not, human resources be referred to as an outside company?
Yes, it could.
don't you think that we ought to, I mean, I can get some figures from some various sources, and then maybe we should have a line item for a contingency for, or do we later adjust the budget?
15,000, won't you think we should just?
Well, it'll probably be more than 15, but that would be the low end.
Under 20.
Yeah, you'd probably about 22 or 23 would be my
And,
guess.
because you're also talking about the human resource.
And the benefit, they're out shopping the benefit opportunity for you too, and they're bringing that to you.
So I would probably put it as a line item of a contingency of 25,000.
25,000, yeah.
mean, I'll go with whatever. That's, to me, if that's what works for you all, and that's something that you really feel like is important, I'm happy to agree to that. I'm just curious, since we have everybody here, the concept of, and this might be a bigger discussion, but since we're just kind of randomly, we're kind of putting some pieces together here. What is y'all's thoughts of, city management, having a city manager? I know that was something that was brought up at some point before my day. I just look at how much work it is for a mayor. I think, oh my gosh, it's a full-time job.
Sure.
And there's not one person, you have different mayors coming and going. There's not one person that kind of knows the flow. And that's something I've struggled with a little bit as I've entered office is, what's the procedure? How does this work? Who do I
Sure.
ask? And I feel like if there, some of the training I've been to, shirts, you're familiar with shirts. The gentleman that's the city manager there did a fantastic presentation on how he brings people in and says, here's our protocol, here's our department heads, here's how we do things. And so it seems like it would be a fantastic thing for.
Yeah, I know Hill Country Village has a city administrator.
He's also their police chief, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
Same guy.
We used to have a city administrator for a couple of years.
We had a bad experience with
Yeah, I
that.
heard it was, how did it go well?
But I'm with you. If we, had someone good,
Yes.
because the mayor, as mayors come and go,
Right,
yeah, there is no
right,
continuity.
exactly.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys came in at a time when everything's in upheaval. We have a lot of new people who don't know the history, you don't know who to ask because a lot of them don't know either.
And there needs to
So-
be an authoritative figure in the sense that, because the last city secretary, the famous quote was, mayors and councils come and go, I will always be here. And that's the problem we got into.
Well, that's gonna worry me about the city administrator too, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, but he'd have to answer the council.
That's right.
Hopefully.
You
Right.
Yeah, that's
meet somebody
true.
like the
That's
shirts
true.
man, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he's amazing.
Well,
just
let's
from-
steal him.
Well,
We
we could
could,
call him to find out if you have any
we
recommendations.
probably couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
That's 130, or every bit of $125,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
City managers come with credits.
Yeah.
Right,
They just don't say, oh, I'll put on another shirt, give me some overtime. No.
yeah.
Those guys come.
I
with
think
credits.
you'd be looking at
Three
100,000 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figure that. I mean, it's just a matter of, love to know y'all's opinion, if that's something that could ever,
You've got a guy coming in with pretty serious credentials with masters in city administration. Could be a dual-hatted position.
Well,
Bill Patrick?
Yeah, it'd be a minimum of, a
G2.
master's in administration.
Give him the title and bump his salary.
what did you say? Did you talk about, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
Master.
The city
Oh, talking
secretary
city
coming in,
secretary.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have a dual-hatted department head that saves you money. That's
Sure.
what a lot of little cities do. They have a dual-hatted department head.
I mean, how do y'all feel about that? Having somebody who,
I love it. I think
I'm with Debbie, if it's the right person, I think it would be great, but you just don't know who's gonna get in here, and,
Right.
like we said, we had a really bad experience with one, so.
What happened on that?
Left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. He came in when the deer controversy was at its peak, and he was sort of like he used the police as his posse when they were gonna drop the nets on the deer, and it was a really, really bad deal.
A lot of shady stuff that he had.
for a good one.
Personally, I haven't ever had any experience with a city manager as an employee. My experience with city managers has been dealing with city managers as an outsider or as a contractor. I'm on the other side. I don't think that we need one. I think the city should absorb that huge cost that goes along with it. I think that we're small enough and tight enough group that we should be able to cooperate and be able to get things done without one.
I don't have an issue with it.
I think it's a
I'm
good
probably
idea.
not the most diplomatic person to talk to.
No.
Give them a
I'm a yes
6 month
or no.
probationary time.
Do what?
6 months probation. They screw the pooch, then you got a way out, so to speak.
To me, the city manager position is a political position.
Oh, I don't think so at all. No,
Politicking constantly.
I don't think so at all.
That's my personal opinion.
Kelly?
I don't think so at all. I mean, he's hired by the city council, he answers to the city council, but he's an employee, and he runs the city. That's just my personal opinion. I've always dealt with city managers when I've done city
Can't
audits.
be continuity.
Now, keep this in mind also. What I'm going through is not the norm. We've gone through so many monumental changes, from the mayor, the city secretary, to treasurer. We've gone through things that nobody really ever had to go through at once. Once we put the team together, and I've talked to Chief about it, we've got an amazing guy right here. He wants to do it, he likes it, he has no agenda. If Patrick comes in here, he does what he's gonna do. That's why I invited everybody to talk to him individually and get to know the guy. Give me your feelings. So if we can put a team together that wants to work together, then we're gonna have a whole lot more continuity. People like each other, hey, I got your back, and I got your back, and they're watching for each other. We haven't had that in here in a very, very long time with the former people that were in the other positions. Got this guy here, so my team was, get Fred in here, all these guys I've talked to before. Jeanette, this is gonna be fabulous at her assistant job in both positions. She's cross-trained. Patrick will be there. Now we've got a good core that we can put together that can make this happen. So to argue the point, do we need a city administrator? I don't know if we really need one yet. If we can get this group functioning and clicking the way it needs to, I think we could probably get by. Let's try it first before we go spend that $100,000.
Well, let me ask you this, if we have a city manager, do they, answer questions that the head of department would have? Because
Yes.
that was a nightmare with our previous mayor, they would ask the question, and it'd take them a week to make a decision and stuff, so we're not gonna always have you, where you're, yes, do it, no, don't.
I'd take 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so we're not gonna always have someone over here.
I've never had a mayor not be there for me. I mean, the last one, correct, but even previous mayors before him, that I didn't think were that great of mayors, they were always there. If you had a question, they responded to you, so that was a one-time issue.
And I like Fred, if I don't know, I'll say I don't know, I'll find out. 'Cause I don't want to give you the wrong information. We'll figure it out. So if we can help each other get this system going, I think we can make this town run a whole lot smoother than it has been in the last 4 years, 5 years.
So does anybody know a good HR consultant, other than myself?
Well, I
I'm
think
the
that'll
best,
be,
but we
that'll
can't
be with
have
the
me.
payroll service.
Right.
They'll have people that can do the
It'll be a
HR.
joint opportunity.
So we just go with one of the big ones?
Well, I think we look around. There's a lot of good ones out there,
Yeah.
you know?
A lot of local good ones too.
Yeah.
You got a little bit more of a hammer with them.
Right.
Leverage with them.
Do we have to put that up for a bid?
Not if it's more than, if it's gonna be less than 50.
It'll be less than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just something to think about. I didn't think we'd be running a whole lot smoother here.
Just out of curiosity, why would we not put things up for bid, just for excellence sake? I know we don't have to if it's less than 50,000, right? But I mean, in my mind, I think, why would you not put anything up for bid, just so you can have apples to apples?
Well, I think Fred's gonna go get bids.
Oh, okay.
He'll look at
Yeah,
a couple
I'm
people.
gonna
You're talking
get-
about whether you're gonna write an RFP or not. I think he'll
Right.
go
Yeah.
get bids.
Yeah, you would definitely talk to more than one.
Yeah, I'll probably talk to 5.
Exactly.
There's
Great.
a specific bidding process for putting things out for bid.
Right.
But
Sure.
I shop everything, I do
Yeah.
everything.
Well, I guess question about city management, I mean, if that's something for us to consider in the future, we need to obviously think through on big budget.
Exactly.
And I'm very pro it, just even from my experience, I just think, I can't even imagine the hours that our mayor here has to put in. I put enough in it myself, I can't, nobody can sustain that if they're not making any money from it.
Right.
You're here at 7:15, you can do it.
You sent out emails at 3 in the morning.
Well, that was because I was trying to get my packet information in on time, and apparently I didn't make it, so we're trying to figure that out, right?
Yes, we are. We're
Okay.
working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I talked to Jeanette, talked to Patrick, and I think because we've got an incredibly competent person in this job, we don't have to worry about all the things that were dropped. Daisy told me that she's gonna put us the manual together, put a manual together at the end of the year, to let us know how everything is supposed to be working, how every department functions, the procedures, which you're gonna really enjoy. She's gonna put that together. This is the protocol for A, B, C. This is what happens.
Great.
We haven't had that here. So, but Daisy gets that done for us. Fred takes over his department there. we don't have to worry about this guy. We're not gonna have to worry about Patrick, hopefully, and we're not gonna have to worry about admin assistants, because she covers both ends. And you gotta make sure they have enough work to do.
I don't
So if we
think-
get another person in here, that person's gonna be doing things that the other people will be doing. So I think we ought to try it.
I don't wanna be Debbie Downer here, but we were tickled to death that we got Jeff.
Well, yeah, but let's.
Not
let's-
comparing you, I'm
let's-
just
yeah,
saying.
let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Don't be offended.
You make mistakes and we learn. I mean, we all had something to do with that because we fought and drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And I think we got past that. So let's see if we can kind of think about going to ADP, do the payroll, do the HR, get that out of here. Because again, 48 people, oh, it sounds like, you hear this, you hear that? I mean, I hear it all the time. You know, they come to, I have people going to my house, calling me on my personal phone about issues. And this, you gotta follow procedure. I mean, I had to tell people, you can't call me. I don't handle those things. You gotta call the right person, call the department head, talk to the department head. That's not my job. I'm not gonna get involved in any of those issues. That's not what the mayor's supposed to do. There's no procedure or policy for that. They just, hey, you know, I was gonna tell you about this and this. I don't wanna hear it. I don't wanna hear it. Go talk to them. Go away. So we gotta come up with a reasonable way to get those to go to proper authorities. And if you have an HR, hey, don't talk to Kelly, don't talk to Chief, you go to HR. Gets it off, takes the weight off of them. They don't make themselves a liability. Go to HR, they figure it out, and then they come back to the department head, and to the mayor, whoever it may be, and it's legal. Is it done correctly? Because HR, most of the time, those people aren't even updated. Debbie's updated because that's her profession. But there's a lot of people that have been in HR, they barely take HR classes. They don't know the protocol, they don't know what to do, or they say something inadvertently, or they leave a file on their desk, and it's a personnel file. So I'm gonna push for that. I'm gonna try to, that's my thought, is try to get this out of here and streamline this, all this gossip.
Well, and there was, I never saw the office before I got here, what the previous guy had, but he had payroll information laying everywhere. If someone walked into his office, they could easily pick up something off the floor and look at a lot of information on payroll. And that should never be laying out, should be locked up.
You know, personnel files should be secure all the time. Nobody should get into personnel files other than HR or treasury.
Well,
Right.
just think about this, if we would have had a city manager when that was all going down, we probably would have been saved a lot of, that would have been caught quicker, right? There were some issues with our finance director, that would have been caught a lot quicker.
Right,
It depends how well the city manager knew accounting or finance.
Right.
If he wasn't particularly versed in it, it could have been snowed too.
Well, Glenn, it would have been caught, well, I'm not gonna say caught faster because it was caught a long time ago, but nothing was being acted on it. It didn't stop it. I mean, when you can stand at the window and see the mailboxes on each side of the deal, and there's so much stuff stuck in there, and they're envelopes, you can tell, okay, are those checks, are they bills, you know?
How many of these are delinquent? Anything you got caught up on?
this is very
So about
current.
2 months ago, I was still paying checks from November of 2020.
Well, I think in May or June, we paid Verizon for 5 months. I know.
How they did cut us off once.
I concur with Oscar, I think you're starting to build a good team here, and we should try that out. I think the pieces are coming together, let's
Right.
give that an opportunity to gel and see what we get. Because we can always come back to the city administrator and go, it didn't work out, we still need help.
Well, I think it is gonna work real good. I think Patrick's gonna be a good addition, but there still could be a need for a city administrator in a year, so.
Well, but see, I would trust you a lot more to tell us that too. Quite frankly, you go, look, I've been in here, we've gone through it, how department heads go through it, and go, hey, we still could use one.
Right.
So, I wouldn't have trust Jeff to do that, or maybe prior city secretary, maybe not, but
Right.
it's a different group now.
It did.
Get better
When you
information.
retire in 5 years for finance, maybe you'll be our city manager.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
You remember, I worked 48 years and I retired.
And we really appreciate you doing it.
So when are we meeting next, other than tomorrow night? When's our next budget meeting?
Yeah, needs to be next week.
One more?
Give me a date. Let's get everybody's schedule, let's see what he says.
Let's do Tuesday night next week.
We're not gonna have a department head meeting, then. We haven't had one in a couple of weeks, right? That's fine. I'll try to get that started and follow.
Tuesday night, the 24th?
Tuesday night, yes, the 24th.
How's everybody's schedule?
Pardon me?
To make sure we get the agenda posted.
Right, right.
23rd, no, excuse me, 24th.
That'd be the fourth and final.
That would be the fourth and final. He'll be bringing us the budget, the tax, and ready just to make some tweaks. Do we need department head here? I would think so, unless you just want us to do what you want.
Your budget's,
I don't have a problem with it, I'm just asking. Last year, we didn't do this. The year before, they didn't do that.
well, this one's
So.
different.
So next Tuesday, 17:30?
24th.
Yeah, but he's talking about time 5:30.
Yeah,
I was with you.
It took me a minute.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Budget meeting is adjourned at 5 minutes to 8.
And we don't need to bring our book back, right, for the next one?
No, I say no. Bless you. So, are we off?